Greetings, holy ones. I want to pass along information, stunning new intel, and this information is in regards to the year ahead. The new year actually begins in July, according to the ancient mages, the arcane knowledge. So coming up in July, we will pass through the Lion's Gate portal, etc., summer solstice, etc. But roughly around the end of July, July 26th, is the actual new year from a spiritual perspective, as far as I understand it. And this information that I am passing along is directly impactful for the forthcoming year. It is my course of action. It is my intention, based upon this information, how I'm going to conduct my life, how I'm going to order my energies, marshal my resources, and establish my intention and speak my voice, the words of my power, into the quantum morphogenetic unified field, with the intention to transmute, to rise as Homo Luminous, as a metahuman, to increase my present state, to perfect, to refine my personality towards the path of Homo Luminous. And the information that I have to share are based upon two videos. One of them, the first video, is from David Wilcox, his latest video. And in this video, he basically says, and he has a body of work that he's put out called the Michael Prophecies. And essentially, though, just to make this very short and to the point, he's talking about roughly a year from now, according to information that I got from this video from David Wilcox, that there's going to be this event that takes place where all of mankind is going to be, I guess it's the type of this solar flash event, but it's going to be a meeting. It's going to be a exposure of each individual soul, the condition of their soul, where they're at with their development. Keep in mind, your body doesn't have a soul inside of it. You're not, your genetic vehicle. You are a soul. We are a soul. And understanding that is the prime importance of what we are doing here on this planet at this time as soul evolution. Ultimately, journey back to source and all of the knowledge that we can take with us before we leave. There's a reason, leave this third dimension for good. Before you lay down your mortal shell, your genetic vehicle, there is a reason why the ancient Egyptians built their temples and their tombs, where they spent, when they died, their physical shell died, their tombs and their temples were much larger and more elaborate and more focused upon with their development and all of the resources that went into them than their day-to-day living arrangements. Okay, so basically David Wilcox is saying in this video that there's going to be this event happens. It's a 3-hour-long video. There's great information in this video. And then the next video, and I'll leave the information link to that video, but the next video is with this interview with Dr. Michael Salas and George Cabasilias. Hopefully I pronounced his name correctly. But anyway, this is a very enlightening interview, Ascension versus Integration. I'll leave the information for that video. But in this interview, this gentleman, George, basically talks about there's 3 levels of imposition that are taking place with humanity right now, and essentially 3 paths that all of us will have, depending on our soul evolution, how we have lived our lives, our intentions, what we, all of that. But there's 3 paths that you can go by. Not, as Led Zeppelin says, there's 2 paths that you can go by, but in the long run, there's still time to change the road you're on. The time is a year from now, roughly. The way I'm going to marshal my energies and my focus, that is how I'm setting my compass, my course. But this individual, George, talks about there is the the path of not artificial intelligence, but technological intelligence. He explains that in great detail. But there's this path of humanity that is being absorbed into this technological construct, that it does involve what we commonly know as artificial intelligence. And that ties into the main imperial imposition, which is the cabal, the deep state, the Khazarian mafia, however you understand that, but the controllers, the overlords, and the way that they have been sort of manipulating the majority of humanity, the sheeple, those normies that are still not hip to what is really going on, and not hip to the fact that we are souls, that our true nature, if we're not still asleep and deluded by the system, by the digital matrix, by the lower animal nature still trapped within those pursuits, is manipulation by the overlords, by the deep state, however you call that. So there's that avenue that people are still trapped within. There's the technological intelligence where people are being absorbed, their consciousness are being absorbed into that construct. And then the last is the organized religion construct, which is right now is going to capture a lot of people's consciousness. A lot of people, they wake up from their day-to-day 5 sense illusion existence, and then it's like, well, the most popular avenue to the world of spirituality is organized religion, which is just a business, and that business is part of the whole harvesting construct. And so there's the path of being harvested by assimilated into this cosmic religion that is going to be established when these ETs show up, and essentially you're going to be, your consciousness will be harvested into that reality, construct, by giving your power away to organized religion. Religion as we know it will be basically done away with. I mean, all the, but it will serve its purpose for the Christian, Islam, Judaism, funneling all the people into that. But ultimately that will be absorbed into a big cosmic religion where these certain ETs, these powerful ETs, will set themselves up as gods, which they've done that already. Yahweh is actually, the Old Testament God was actually a negative Anunnaki being. So anyway, there's the path of that, but the technological intelligence, which we know as artificial intelligence, will tie into the organized religion harvesting mechanism. And the third path is the path of Homo Luminous, the path of the metahuman, where your consciousness is basically guided back into the unified field of source. And in that interview with Dr. Michael Salas, George Cavasalias talks about how the pineal gland is actually an Anunnaki technology, and as well as the chakras are basically the legacy of the Atlantean technology. And that our chakra, Kundalini. The Kundalini system is part of like the reptilian empire, the Orion empire type of technology. And so all of this blends into what we understand in our human system. But that is where people get trapped in this New Age religion that is basically funneling them all into a worship of ET gods, which is just more of the same. And so the path that I intend to follow and establish from now until this time next year, roughly, and I have no idea whether almost to be true, but I do sense, my intuition is telling me that it is time to buckle down. It's exam time, and these videos I make on YouTube, sometimes I get a little out there with stuff, but essentially I'm just trying to sincerely impress upon people to wake up from the illusion of the 5 senses and begin to pay attention to the still small voice within you. If you still have that contact, some people, I don't want to comment on what other people have. I can only speak for myself, and I can know that still small voice, that intuitive aspect of myself, has gotten me out of more fixes than I care to talk about or incriminate myself with. But that direction, that voice is telling me to buckle down, to bring it in. And essentially, I'm going to be doing that by sharing information about the path of the Magus. And essentially, I've made videos about that, off and on, but I've kind of gotten off track. And of course, I'll still share videos about, music and stuff, as I believe that, that is a creative aspect. And some people find enjoyment in that. Some people, I'm sure they unsubscribe from this channel when they see some of the oddities. But essentially, I'm making the effort to buckle down, and I'm going to do that by essentially talking about the path of the magus and focusing on my own personal practice, which I've, since my Kundalini activation took place in 2021, I've prayed and meditated to some greater degrees, some lesser degrees every day since then, and had some sort of construct, some sort of routine of putting myself back in touch with source and staying, away as much as possible from the illusion of the five senses. But I'm going to focus on the soul and the ego and the separation thereof. A lot of times I feel like the danger that I've gotten myself into is a spiritual ego. And sometimes, possibly being, when you start putting your energies out there into the ethers, there's a very active world around us that we don't see because our eyes only see a very small spectrum of the energy that's going on. Our eyes can only detect a very minuscule amount of the energies that are going around, and we typically, our eyes are only able to interpret a very small, but we have to rely on our super sensible senses, our intuition, all these super sensible higher order perceiving instruments of perception. And so going forward, I'm going to focus on that, this path of the magus. And it's exam time. I really do feel, I'm being this intuition. It's time to basically buckle down, get a little bit more focused. And if anyone finds resonance with these videos, I hope that this, and I realize that, I'm not the most encyclopedic or astute presentation person, but at least I'm a face, and I attempt make all utter sincere attempts to maintain sincerity and honesty on this path. And I've shared my path ever since, my Kundalini and my life dramatically changed and headed towards the light, headed towards Homo Luminous. I don't necessarily want to see my consciousness absorbed into a technological intelligence to be harvested by a new cosmic religion or ET God. So we'll see. But anyway, stay tuned and stay. Hit the subscribe button and leave this video a thumbs up, as it indicates to the algorithm that the path of the magus is the path to follow to Homo Luminous metahuman consciousness and the rising thereof. Namaste. Namaskaram.